Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:07 on O'Connor and Company this Thursday morning, 10th day of July, and a busy one at that already. We're going to stay up to date on that horrific scene in the outer loop in Montgomery County, Bethesda. Tractor trailer is going to take some time to clean it up. That means your commute both directions, if you use the outer loop, is in bad shape. Well, the inner loop would be the direction coming from Virginia, and it's bad on that side as well. 7:05, we'll speak with John Reed, running for Lieutenant Governor. 7:35 brings us Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland. 8:05, KT McFarland. And 8:35, Sean Spicer will be our guest. That's a good lineup. And to top it off, we've got Bethany Mandel this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I knew I was going to do
now
that.
Are you sneezing?
I knew I was going to do it.
It's bad. It's bad. All right. Yesterday, all eyes were on a closed briefing room in the, I think it's in the Cannon office building where oversight is. They were having James Comer, chairman of the Oversight Committee, is finally starting to take testimony, again, behind closed doors, of people who worked in the Biden administration and were connected with what appears to be a cover-up of the diminishing capabilities of Joe Biden as he was the president of the United States. He's already had one round of hearings here with Neera Tanden and some other people that worked in the White House. Today was yesterday, I should say, was the focus on the president's physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, no relation. Although, ironically, I literally do have a brother named Kevin. But he's not a doctor. He's a doctor of destruction. Kevin O'Connor was called to testify, and when asked, and here were the first two questions, were you ever told to lie about the president's health? He pled the fifth. Now, this is fascinating. I want to dive into this in a minute. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, there's some fundamental, obvious things to understand about your rights here and about when you exercise your Fifth Amendment right versus attorney-client privilege versus executive privilege versus doctor-patient privilege. Here's James Comer last night talking about O'Connor taking the fifth.
There was nothing asked in the beginning that would pertain to doctor-patient relationship. This was a question, were you ever told to falsify medical documents for the President of the United States? And he pled the fifth. And then we asked the question, did you ever doubt his mental capacity to fulfill the duties of the presidency? And again, he pled the fifth. The only thing he answered was his name.
So, Bethany, again, neither of us are lawyers, but the beauty about the Constitution and the Fifth Amendment and everything, it was written by our founders so that really anybody can understand them. They're pretty simple to understand. We all know what the Fifth Amendment is, that you are not you have the right not to be compelled by a government entity to incriminate yourself, right? It's the protection against the coerced self-incrimination. So you're allowed to just stay silent and say, yeah, I'm not going to answer that question. But it's specifically connected to self-incrimination in a criminal basis. And this was not a criminal inquiry.
No.
And if the question is, did you ever falsify a record that said about the president's health, or were you ever asked to lie about the president's health? And he says, I'm going to plead the fifth against self-incrimination. That suggests that there is, in fact, some underlying criminal behavior here that Dr. Kevin O'Connor is concerned that he's going to be implicated in.
So I am on Jake Tapper's Twitter, and it looks like Alex Thompson, who is his co-author, is covering this. So Jake isn't, but Alex Thompson
Jake's not covering this? Why? I thought he was all chagrined that he missed the story, but it won't happen again.
So he is retweeting Alex Thompson's tweets.
That's the same as broadcasting it on your CNN. All right, fine. I won't beat up on Jake. Go ahead.
So that's where I'm going for this coverage, and I'm getting it from Alex Thompson from Axios, who was actually on the story the whole time. He was a responsible reporter. And he says this is what he's tweeting. Mm-hmm. The totality of the circumstances surrounding this committee's investigation leave O'Connor no choice but to decline answers on two overlapping grounds. First, the physician-patient privilege and his ethical duty to confidentiality, and second, the depending DOJ criminal investigation. So that's why he's pleading the fifth, because there's a DOJ criminal investigation into the fact that there was this cover-up. Everyone knows about it. Tapper and Alex Thompson's book has been at the top of the New York Times bestseller list for 7 weeks. Everyone knows about it now. Now it can be said. There was really disturbing video of Biden on the beach in Rehoboth on 4th of July weekend, where he couldn't fold a towel, he couldn't open a beach chair, and this is the man who the Democrats confidently assured us could still be running the country right now.
No, absolutely.
And the question that I have that was never answered in the Tapper Alex Thompson book is who was running the country.
That's right. Oh, no, and that's why I criticized Tapper's book. And I recognize he's like, there are great juicy tidbits. Those juicy tidbits are still coming from anonymous sources. See, Jake Tapper knows the answer to your question, Bethany. Jake Tapper knows the answer to your question, but he's more interested in protecting the anonymity of his sources, who are now, he claims, telling the truth. But who knows, because these are the same sources who Jake Tapper admits was covering up the situation 3 years ago.
I mean, it seems like they were ruling by committee, but and in the book he says that it wasn't Jill. But if you look at the video of him on the beach in Rehoboth, she was in charge. She's wearing the pants in that family now.
With all due respect to Alex Thompson's analysis, I disagree that Kevin O'Connor, the doctor here, who was a military man and was a federal employee who's had one job, and that was to report honestly about the president's health. He does have a choice. With this whole idea is, because of the criminal investigation, he has no choice but to plead the fifth. No. He has a choice. He can tell the truth.
Right, but if he tells the truth, he's incriminating himself.
Okay, so
he doesn't want to go to prison.
Don't tell me that he doesn't have a choice. He does have a choice. And if he's going to prison because of his conduct as the president's doctor, circumventing the Constitution and lying to the American people, then he should go to jail.
Yeah,
and so, again, we're back to the original thesis, which is because he pled the fifth, this means there is an underlying criminal there's underlying criminal behavior, and there needs to be a full criminal investigation. Now, I don't think the DOJ has actually opened up a full criminal investigation. I think that they're still gathering evidence, and they're still talking to people. I don't think it actually is officially a criminal investigation.
I mean, it says pending, so you're correct.
Yeah.
I would like
But I would think there needs to be a special prosecutor at this point.
Yes. Let's go. I mean, again, Trump is going to be accused of being, doing this banana republic stuff. But this is a scandal, the likes of which we've really never seen in this country outside of Watergate.
Yeah, and it's from the I'm protecting democracy.
Right.
By the way,
the defenders of democracy who installed a new candidate
and lied about his installed the new candidate without a single vote being taken, and propped up a man and using his auto pen to sign official executive documents, and they're the ones protecting democracy because the voter and understand, every time they say we're protecting democracy, they're saying that the voters can't be trusted. They did everything they could to keep people from voting for Donald Trump because you can't be trusted with your vote. You're right. Donald Trump will be called a banana republic dictator. Guess what? They've been doing that for a decade. They're going to call him that no matter what he does. So why not do the right thing while you're at it?
We really need accountability.
Also, by the way, just prior to his testimony, executive privilege was waived by the White House. So that was not an option for him. And I don't believe, this needs to be litigated and tested. I don't believe he enjoys the doctor-patient privilege here. For two reasons. Number one, the patient is the president of the United States, and he has filled out official documents for the taxpayers that we're the client here. We paid his salary, and his job is to ensure the president's health for our benefit, not for Joe Biden's benefit, number one. And number two, because he has publicly made statements about Joe Biden's health, well, that puts the doctor-patient privilege on the table. Your doctor doesn't, do a physical exam of you, Bethany, and then put out a statement for the world, putting out a press release saying, here's my assessment of Bethany Mandel's health. If he did, then he'd be violating. But the fact that Kevin O'Connor attested to the health of Joe Biden while he was president means that the doctor and the patient have already waived their confidentiality by making the results of the examination public. And that's why I think he didn't plead.
I think that he's a teetering he's teetering, and the DOJ should offer him a plea deal in exchange for some info. Because at the end of the day, he's not the head that I want to see on the platter. I want some bigger heads on that platter.
Yeah, he does make all of us O'Connors look bad, I must say. 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Last month, there was a committee hearing in the House of Oversight and Government Reform, again, James Comer's committee, very active committee, where they had 3 key governors come in to testify about their state's sanctuary policies. Of course, all 3 of them know that claiming that you're a sanctuary state is political poison, so they all dance around it. They said, we are not a sanctuary state for illegal immigrants. We offer them free health care, free tuition in college. We will not cooperate with federal law enforcement officials if they're subject for deportation. But we're not a sanctuary state. It's like, I'm sorry, that is a sanctuary state. Socialists always mess with the language to try to no, blue isn't really blue. So these 3 governors were called in to explain their policies, and it was noteworthy in 3 respects. Number one, Kathy Hochul was one of them, and she had that infamous showdown with Elise Stefanik, who many believe will be running for governor against Kathy Hochul. And then J.B. Pritzker was just absolutely beclowned by a Republican from Illinois. But of the 3, Tim Walz of Minnesota actually was the most bumbling, incoherent mess of a man, if you remember right.
Remember when he was sold to us as the manly man?
Oh, yes. He was going to be the guy who could, like the horse whisperer, but for straight white men who fix their cars.
He was going to wear the camo hat and the bright orange vest and convince us that he was a hunter.
It was an absolute embarrassment, and I think spiked whatever chances he thought he may have had of getting the Democrat nomination in 2028. Because remember, he was doing a tour around the country, pretending like he was going to be a candidate for president. I think it's over, and partly because of his bumbling, horrific appearance in this committee hearing.
He never had a chance.
But here's the cherry on top. The Minnesota Star-Tribune is now reporting that Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota is submitting an invoice to the taxpayers of his state to the tune of $430,000 in legal bills. It's like, why do the people of Minnesota have to pay for Tim Walz's legal bills? These were attorney's fees associated with preparing the governor for his testimony.
That's what your staff is for. But here's the thing, though. He really feels like he has to CYA. So that's why. So it's actually pretty – I appreciate him being such a cheapskate that he's billing the state, because now we realize, this man is scared and so unprepared that he needed close to $500,000 of prep just to testify in front of a congressional committee.
Well, and just pause for a moment, because everybody's like, well, listen, if you have to pay lawyers. Okay, this wasn't a criminal investigation. He didn't have to lawyer up to cover his butt, as you say. Mm-hmm. No, this was the House of Representatives calling a governor to come in and answer questions about the policies they've implemented in their state. Why would you need $500,000 in legal advice?
To
explain that.
This is how bad of a politician he is, that he can't even stand up to the withering gaze of a House committee. Right. This is not a big, huge debate or something that you spend weeks preparing for. This is congressional testimony as a state governor.
And which, by the way, if it was a political consideration, then you would have your campaign pay for this, not the taxpayers of the state. Yeah. And these were outside counsel, by the way. So all the lawyers that work for the governor's office or the executive branch of Minnesota apparently weren't good enough. He had to get an outside high-priced lawyer to do it. All right, so here's a reminder of how it went for Tim Walz. Let's start with Cut 9, Byron Donalds of Florida.
You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving...
Is it the responsibility of ICE?
Okay, so hold on. There was his answer, and let's see how that $500,000 in legal fees did there, coaching him with that response. Here is what Tim Walz actually did say about ICE agents and Gestapo.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to...
There you go. Did he say Trump is treating ICE agents like Gestapo? No, he just said they were his modern-day Gestapo. So $500,000 that Minnesota taxpayers are going to pay for to teach Tim Walz how to lie under oath. That's getting your money's worth. It's 6:23. Coming up, Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, is intent on ruining the horizon with windmills out in the ocean and also ruining sea life as we continue to see whales and other major sea animals washing ashore in New Jersey because of these things. Why is he so intent on ruining our coastline with wind farms? We'll get to the bottom of it coming up.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:36, it's O'Connor and Company, where we give you a fresh look on the news and get your day started the right way. Thanks for letting us be a part of your morning routine. 7:05, John Reed running for Lieutenant Governor in Virginia. 7:35, Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland, who's going to talk about this topic we're about to get into, these wind farms that Governor Wes Moore is insisting on off the coast of Maryland. 8:05 brings us KT McFarland, and then 8:35, friend of the program, friend of America. He's a superhero. He's Sean Spicer. All right, I may have overstated the case. I don't know if he's a superhero. What do you think Sean Spicer's superpower is, Bethany Mandel?
I mean, doing all things and being on top of all things. I have a hard time knowing as much. And
he is incredibly
he just knows all
in.
the things.
He does. Well, he's been in this town doing work at the highest level for many decades. He's 97 years old. Sean Spicer joining us at 8:35. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. Let's just be clear. He is running for president. You've got your Gavin Newsom. You've got your Pete Buttigieg. You've got your Kathy Hochul probably, or maybe Gretchen Whitmer. You've got your Wes Moore. Think about this. Newsom. George Clooney, kind of a kingmaker there in Hollywood. He raises millions of dollars for presidential candidates, always Democrats. George Clooney has lived in California for decades, his entire adult life, and so he knows Gavin Newsom probably better than anyone. And when asked, who do you think is the best candidate for president right now for the Democrats, he didn't hesitate. Wes Moore.
Whoa.
Wes Moore.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's identity politics, let's be honest.
Wes Moore needs to make sure that he shores up the key constituencies within the Democrat Party to be able to get that nomination. And one of them is the radical environmental wackos who still insist on solar and wind as the solution to the future, even though they're literally medieval solutions for power. Here is a local report now about Wes Moore's promise to create thousands of wind energy jobs, whatever the hell that is, by ruining Maryland's coastline. Listen.
As a relentless investigation into Maryland's skyrocketing energy bills continues, and we examine the potential impacts of offshore wind on the state, we must go back to goals set in April 2023.
But this future isn't just cleaner and greener, it's also more prosperous. It's a future with work that is empowering. It's a future with wages that are sustainable.
3 months after taking office, Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed green energy bills near the site of a promised facility to fabricate hundreds of wind turbines. The governor promised to achieve the state's 100% green energy goals 10 years before the previously planned target.
The Power Act will nearly quadruple our offshore wind goals so that we can build off of the great work of our partners at Trade Point Atlantic, our partners at Ørsted, our partners at U.S. Wind, to make Maryland the offshore capital of the United States.
Our team set out to evaluate whether Governor Moore and the state legislature fulfilled their promise to create more than 550 steelworker jobs at the Trade Point Atlantic site leased by U.S. Wind by 2025.
There is no time to wait for Maryland to get moving.
We took a look at Google Earth images of the site from 2017 when U.S. Wind was first granted approval by the state to build its wind turbine project. Images taken in August 2023, about 4 months after Moore announced the new wind turbine facility. Little change is seen. Nearly a year and a half later, images were nearly identical.
U.S. Wind's project alone will create thousands of jobs in Maryland.
I thought it was 550 jobs. Well, those were just the steel jobs. Either way, the target was 2025, and it looks like nothing has been done. No construction yet on these plants that would build wind turbines. Never mind the fact that these wind farms are supposed to be off the coast of Ocean City. Ocean City is now suing. There's a lawsuit trying to block those offshore wind farms, and it just cleared its first legal hurdle. So this whole thing is a nightmare. And the statement from the governor in 2023, this is not only good for our clean energy and saving our planet, but it's going to give us good, high-paying jobs. We've been hearing this since Al Gore in the 90s, and it never comes true. The only people who make money are the rich people like Al Gore who invest in these things.
Maybe they just have all the construction workers in the state rebuilding the Key Bridge, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the other great fiasco.
So
Governor
I
Moore.
wrote a column for Fox News in May, and I talked a lot about this. And we are importing a lot of our electricity from out of state because we shut down the coal and the natural gas plants, which were our primary sources of energy.
Forgive me, pronoun problems. We didn't shut them down. He shut them down.
That's correct. That
Wes
is correct.
Moore and his pals in the Democrat Party. Okay, go ahead.
So one of my favorite sort of people to follow on the climate is Lucy Biggers. She's the Free Press social media person, and she also used to be a climate activist, and now she's a Benedict Arnold to that cause. And
they're the best.
Yes, they are the best because they understand the other side's arguments better than anyone else. And she posted a video a couple weeks ago where she was talking about Bill Gates' book, and she said it was actually kind of radicalizing for her. And she talked about how much energy, how many units of energy of watts you can get from a square mile. Fossil fuels is, hold on, I'm zooming in on this image, about 500 to 10,000 watts per square meter. Nuclear is between 500 and 1,000 watts. And then you get down to these more friendly green ones. Solar is between 5 and 20. Hydropower is the same. Wind is all the way down to 1 or 2 watts per square meter. It is so inefficient and so silly.
Yes.
And yet, this is why in Maryland, your Pepco bill after this crazy hot month is so hot. Because they're blowing our money on these renewable sources of energy that don't produce any energy.
My electric bill is awful. It's insane. And they shut down all these power plants with no plan B other than this pipe dream of wind farms and solar, which are not going to manifest.
Yep.
By the way, add to the fact, not only are these wind farms inefficient, but the offshore wind farms in particular are ruining the fishing industry. They're ruining the tourist industry and actually harming sea life.
And the birds that fly into them.
And whales are beaching themselves in New Jersey to avoid these things. Andy Harris, congressman for Maryland, who represents the Eastern Shore as well, he will be joining us at 7:35 to talk about this and give us some ideas on how Wes Moore must be stopped. It's 6:43.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, the FBI is investigating penitentiary face Brennan for his many deeds, and the media hates it. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
As you know, Marco Rubio is a man of many hats, many job titles. He's the Secretary of State. He's the acting National Security Advisor. He's the acting archivist of the United States. I think he's still acting chair of USAID because USAID is still sort of kind of there under his umbrella. He does a lot. And apparently, Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, has business card envy or something. He's like, hey, how come I only have one job? I'm just the the transportation secretary. So President Trump accommodated Sean Duffy's crave for more power. I'm kidding. I don't know if Sean Duffy instigated this. Yeah, he's a great guy. yesterday, President Trump announced that the Transportation Secretary will also be the acting interim NASA administrator.
And father of 9 or 10 children in addition, as if he wasn't busy enough.
If you think about it, NASA is sort of part of transportation, right? I mean, it moves people from point A to point B.
I think you're right. I think it's a natural. Can I fangirl a little bit over Sean Duffy?
Absolutely.
This sounds like overly ridiculous, but he left Congress because he just felt like he had too much on his plate with his children. His daughter had just been born with his heart defect, and he recognized in that moment, like, I'm taking on too much. I've bitten off more than I can chew. And so I'm like, now that he's taking this on, I'm like, oh, he's fully capable of doing this because he's like an honest, not power-hungry broker. He understands what he has time for, what he has the bandwidth for, and what he can give his full attention to. And he's been killing it. He fixed Newark Airport and averted a real disaster. There was some scary moments at Newark Airport. And he got that new system, the air traffic control system, off the ground, and I think saved lives.
Yeah, he seems to be one of the more effective cabinet secretaries in an already rather effective cabinet. He's done a great job as transportation secretary, even though he had his hands full right from the beginning with that horrible
right
crash
from the
here
start.
in Washington,
It was like day
D.C.
2.
He's doing great. And a lot of people are already saying, geez, someday he might run for a national ticket as well. Well, now he's going to be the interim head of NASA, and so he'll be overseeing, obviously, a huge budget and an important part of the federal government. You'll remember that Trump had a nominee for NASA. It was tech billionaire Jared Isaacman, but then he withdrew his name on June 1st, and it's rumored that that was sort of the tipping point for the whole Elon Musk-Donald Trump rift, because Isaacman was Elon's guy. And, of course, Elon has many interests in the SpaceX world. So Isaacman was set aside, and now here we are 5 weeks later, and we have an interim NASA administrator, and that's Sean Duffy.
I think it's an exciting moment for NASA because they're starting to think about, getting us back to the moon. What do you remember what the name of that program is that they're getting us back to the moon?
Oh, gosh.
I don't remember.
I had, but now I don't remember. I'm sorry, because we've been talking about it quite a bit, but it certainly hit a roadblock with the disastrous Boeing capsule that they were testing out that then got abandoned at the space station. And, of course, Musk and SpaceX had to come and bail them out. We need Elon Musk and SpaceX if we're going to have an active space program here in America, and Sean Duffy hopefully has a good relationship with Elon because we do want him to do what he does best. We'll see what happens there as Sean Duffy adds quite a bit more to his plate. It's 6:52.
Making sense of your world.
There are a lot of things that really tick me off.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.